Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show. As first responders, we risk our lives every day. Our financial security is under attack. Our pensions are in a state of emergency. A single on-duty incident can alter or erase our earning potential instantly and forever. We are the heroes of society. We are self-reliant and we need to take care of our own financial future. The Heroic Investing Show is our toolkit of business and investing tactics on our mission to financial freedom.
Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show, a podcast for first responders, members of the military, veterans, and anyone looking to improve their financial future and gain some freedom with their time. We teach America's heroes how to build passive income, build their startup business, and safely grow wealth through real estate and other alternative investments. We help current and prior first responders put protections, systems, and a team in place to help them build a life where they can focus on their passion, that service or product that they are uniquely gifted to share with others, making the world a better place for all of us. My name is Gary Pinkerton, and I co-host this show with Jason Hartman. This is episode 213. Today's guest is Andre Alexsen. You'll know him better by his title, Adrenaline Man. He recently wrote a book called USA Relentless, and it's about his real-life journey, growing up in Hollywood underneath the Hollywood sign, he says, being very, very much influenced by his grandmother, who grew up in Nazi Germany. All of her family members were killed, and it very much influenced his political beliefs about the ill effects of socialism, as well as gun control and things. He has a great story in our interview here about why he became a stuntman. He worked ironically on the first show with Lee Majors. Any of you who are old enough to remember Fall Guy, which was that's why I said ironically, because that's a show about the stuntman and his the unsung hero, I think, is in the storyline or in the song. I loved that show when I was a kid growing up. Everyone wanted to be a stuntman. So funny that Adrenaline Man's first show is that, and he's in with many others that he talks about during this. But then afterwards, after a bout with drugs, all of which is in his book, he joins and helps out the U.S. military, our Border Patrol, the LAPD, goes undercover. He does lots of work and continues to do lots of work, helping to train and increase the capabilities of our civilian and military law enforcement. And he's just a tremendous guy who's a very religious individual nowadays and full of energy. Really a good article, or really a good interview. I think you're going to enjoy this. Please join me in an awesome show here with Andre Alexsen, the Adrenaline Man. Well, heroic investors, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me. Today we have a really interesting and pretty awesome guest with us. His name is Andre Alexsen, and Andre had a career as a Hollywood stuntman, stunt coordinator, actor, and he has recently released a book that talks about that career, that life, and hitting bottom afterwards and how he came back from it, as he says, from the grace of God. And he's also doing a lot of work with members of the military, and he's going to cover that as well. First and foremost, Andre, big welcome from Heroic Investors.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to say, first and foremost, God bless you, America, all of our military, and our first responders. And I want to open up by thanking all of them for our freedoms and this opportunity to speak on many of their behalf as well, I hope.
That's amazing. I appreciate that as well, and I'm sure they do. So we talked offline a little bit, and you're familiar with having listened to a little bit of the show. First responders, public servants that are in our communities, as well as public servants who are in the military, and then the veterans and those of us who have finished that and are moving on to the next thing. And so we're out there. A lot of us are experiencing challenges like you did in your business and running your own career, ups and downs. Right, we see that while we're actively still in. Can you take us back to how you ended up being a cool stuntman? I mean, every little kid at some point wanted to be you. So tell us about how you ended up there.
Roger that. Sure. I started out as I was really bad at school. I had ADD and dyslexia. So I would come home with really bad grades. And every time I looked at numbers and letters forwards and backward, it would give me a headache. It would wear my mind out. And I would fail miserably at school. And that wasn't good. So they couldn't figure out what it was back in the day. Dyslexia and ADD, we know what it is now. But they used to just say, you're stupid or you're slow mentally. So, but when I went out to the playground or the yard, I would kick butt. Anything physical in the physical realm in physics, if you look at things forwards and backwards, like martial arts or any stunts or anything that I could see physically, I would break it down physically in my head forwards and backwards, and I would learn it twice as fast as anybody else. And that's when I realized I had a gift, much like people that are blind can hear really well, supernatural hearing. So I was enhanced with those skills, and then raised in the Hollywood Hills after my grandma came from a communist nation that had fell apart. Socialism tore it apart, Nazi Germany. And then the Russians came for the Eastern Bloc countries, and they suffered greatly. And they fought in the war. My grandparents and my grandfather was military. And then they came to America with a dream. And she showed me all of the great Hollywood movies, from John Wayne to, Clint Eastwood, you name it. And she said that was the only thing, those movies, those old movies, were the only thing she didn't drink or do drugs, that pacified her after all of the death and things that she had seen. And of course, some great Gary Cooper and military movies too. Yeah. So actually, I wanted to please my grandma, and I wanted to be that. And then it was a time when we grew up without padded playground equipment and wood chips. We were watching Evel Knievel on Wide World of Sports, jump in 30 cars, and he would wreck, and then he would jump again. And so we would go outside and we would emulate that and set up ramps and jump trash cans 30 years. We would wreck and get back up and just do it. And then I got into I started working on Fall Guy. I started hanging out with a guy named Judo Gene LaBelle, the man who put Steven Seagal in a chokehold and made him crap in his pants and ended his career. Go Cortichian, the Armenian assassin, Bob Wall, Chuck Norris, Benny the Jet Urquidez. These are the guys that I looked up to and grew up with. And so I had that support group, and I wanted to be that, and I wanted to be in stunts, and I was not too good at school, so it was the course to take.
So you started this right after, while you were still a teenager, it sounds.
Well, yes, sir. I mean, we were skating empty swimming pools with Dogtown, Tony Alva, without helmets on when we were 15 years old, and we were crazy, radical, and then ride motocross and jumping logs when I was 15, and then of course went into, when I got old enough, got immediately into stunts. Yeah. Very
cool. And so those are some pretty amazing movies and shows from I loved Fall Guy. I loved that show. And anyway, so we don't go too far down that path. That was awesome. So you've been doing this many years, and it was successful for a long time, and then you had some challenges that come out in your book.
Yes, sir. Being in Hollywood in the 80s, and we lost quite a few guys. Cocaine was real prevalent, and if you didn't carry 2 grams in your pocket on set, you weren't anybody. And when the makeup artist in the late 80s said, may I powder your nose, they weren't kidding. Wow. So it wasn't long before we were staying up all night, and even Knight Rider and Michael Knight and shows like that, they had to write more lines for the car kit because he was so coked out he couldn't speak. I witnessed a lot of that. We would just drink some tequila and do some more, and then get into a car with a roll bar and a foam core gas tank, and we would punch it and go for it, fueled by that. As crazy stuntmen, we didn't have to say much. But it did take a life of a friend of mine named Reed Rondell Safety Team, when the helicopter crashed in Valencia on Airwolf, and Hollywood started to realize we got a problem. Lights are falling on people's heads. So I went from the glamorous Playboy mansion snorting cocaine to somebody who said, hey, our hearts aren't blowing up fast enough. Let's smoke it. And I did.
Oh, boy.
And then I ended up from the Playboy Mansion to Compton, Inglewood hotel rooms to San Pedro and 7th in downtown LA, living out of a cardboard box of smoking crack.
Oh my gosh, you were in that world? You were in the last part of it there, living in the cardboard boxes. Wow.
Sir. And I couldn't believe how far I fell. And I knew that I would either end up in prison, dead, like my friends, stabbed, or suicide or crazy. And so I knew that something was going to happen. And that's when I hit bottom. And I said, Lord, I am out of my own ideas and answers. And, God bless everyone at AA, but Bill didn't have the answers for me. Only God did. And only Jesus could deliver me from such a powerful demon of alcohol, suicide, and drugs. And so I reached up, and God pulled me out of that. I'd had enough.
Yeah. So in the comeback times, I'm assuming there was a lot of detoxification in there, for a while during the recovery. Is that, did you do formal detoxification, or how did you, you had your spiritual side that helped you, but what was the actual mechanical, like how long did it take, do you feel like, to get out of that?
Well, it was amazing because God had a plan, and it was the vets out here will understand this and they'll relate to this. And by the way, what happened was I did have the spiritual plan, staying in God's Word. I had to change my phone number, all my contacts, stay away from people. But I developed terminal liver cancer, and it was a death sentence for me because they told me that I was going to die. There's no way around it. I became a test patient for a guy out of Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And since I couldn't really work in Hollywood, they wouldn't pay me, and I started, in their opinion, acting strange because I believed in God and wouldn't get high anymore. I ended up in the Arizona desert as a DOD government contractor. I was hired by my brother and others. They said, why don't you come out to the desert in Arizona and help out Border Patrol, SEAL teams, Marine Corps, Sikorsky Blackhawk, and Dillion Mini Gun in my dad's private military gun range. And I said, okay, there's no drugs out there. It's a good thing. It's a smart thing for me to do. And so I ended up out there, and I was working with our military, some of the best, from SEAL Team 2, 3, 6. I'm not going to mention too many other names, Marine Corps, and like I said, Dillion Blackhawk, helicopters, and then the Border Patrol would stage their raids. But what happened was the most amazing thing. First of all, there was no drugs out there. Hollywood didn't want me because I was sick and talking about God, but I got completely healed of all of that, plus the cancer, which my wife just found out online. She looked at it, and she's a nurse. She said, this is really strange. I said, what is it? She said, there's another way to treat cancer, but it's not advisable. I said, what is it? She said, 120-degree heat on a regular basis. Well, sir, I was out there at 120-degree heat with the Sikorsky Blackhawks landing, and the military on the ranges and in the sand and in the desert. But I will tell you what, I found a peace that amazing. I couldn't believe. Yeah,
what an incredible story! Holy cow! You also talked about how you had a lot of your family members were prior military before we came on.
Yes, sir.
Your father and uncles and everyone, I think you said.
Oh yeah. Well, it started with my grandfathers. One of them who he was too young for World War I, and then he lied. He went in. Then he was too old for World War II. He lied. Went in again. And that's when men were men. And it was an amazing start. My dad too, and he's just an amazing example. Air Force, and then my brothers who were PJs and F-16, F-14 pilots. So I was surrounded by guys in the military, and I always had the military mindset. And I regretted that at a younger time, when instead of going into stunts, my friend said the movie had just come out with Richard Gere, Officer and a Gentleman. He said, let's get jets, man. Let's go to flight school. I was terrible at math, so I knew that I would fail. And I didn't think to do SEAL team. I ended up being a stuntman, but God took me the long way around the mountain. And I did end up with the people that I most honor and that I most look up to. I'm known as the adrenaline man, the real adrenaline man. the real heroes, the real men are our first responders. They're men who don't need capes. They don't need a number on their jersey. They're incredible. I look up to them for what I do, for strength, and it's just when you surround yourself with good people and good company like that, and you look at what they do, you can't help but be inspired. So
yeah, my gosh, and you comment. Thank you for that, by the way. Really inspiring. You commented. Well, at least my notes here say that part of what's in the book is a discussion about all of these special ops and our first responders that you've worked with. One of the discussions is about LAPD and law enforcement. Was that while you were in the desert, or is that separate?
No, sir. That was an amazing story. I returned from there, and what's this now? God has a great sense of humor. A friend of mine started working with a detective agency, DGA. His name is Dale. He owns DGA in Agora Detective Agency, and he was former LAPD for 40 years. Now, they were going to do a sting operation because a girl had been missing. They thought it was a kidnapping, and what these people, we thought it was one man, wanted was money for a woman, a young lady that was missing. So my good-looking friend at the time, she said, I'm going to work the sting operation as the money bag girl. I said, it's real dangerous. Where are you going to do this? She said, Sunset Western. Well, those are the same crack streets I used to wander. I said, I know that street, and you think you're going to do this on 4th of July at night? I said, it's going to be chaotic. So I said, can I come in the meeting? So I came in the meeting. I told them where to stand, how it should go down in the street, and they looked at me, and these guys were veterans, of the LAPD, and they knew what they were talking about, and they were like, man. So what I did was I used some of my acting skills and some of my street skills, and I had an earpiece in, we were ready to go, put a badge under my shirt, and I laid down under a bus bench after wiping my hands on the greasy concrete, not shaving, and smeared it on my face, took an old beer can out of the thing and a cigarette butt, and I stumbled over. They were talking to me. They're looking at me from the police cars. Go, man, you really look like you're out there. So when the sting went down, it was amazing because the guys that were younger than me, they were going after it turned out to be an Islamic terrorist ring that came from Saudi Arabia. And what they were doing was they were putting casting calls out and getting young girls on the street and told them they were going to be models. And they were abducting them and getting them to Paris, but they would stop to refuel in Saudi Arabia, take them off the plane, sex trafficking ring. And when all hell broke loose and my friend went to go give the money bag and the chase ensued, I found myself running down the street as a couple of the officers were in the SUVs, and one fell into the street. So I ended up blocking off the cars so he didn't get run over, but I had to keep running. So I kept running after the suspects, and they ran into this building with barbed wire, razor ribbon fencing, and I knew from those buildings where I bought crack to run around to the back, and there was another fence that I'd leapt over and then opened the gate for all the law enforcement. We ended up busting them and 4 other suspects, and it was a huge sex trafficking ring. So that was one time, and another time where they put me in the jail where I'd gotten in trouble, and they wanted to know who murdered their daughter in Santa Ana. And I said, I know inmates. They talk a lot of smack after they kill somebody, and they like to brag. And I said, they go, you want it? And I said, I'll take it. And it endangered my life. I was in trouble looking at 16 months, but I helped the sheriffs. And I found out who the murderer was in Santa Ana, what gang he came from, and they ended up busting him. Well, they put out a green light for me. They wanted to kill me, murder me. The police had the place bugged. And I had done so much for God at that time and so many people and for the law enforcement that they ended up releasing me after 4 months because they found out that I was going to get murdered that night. So the guys that I used to look down on when I used to get in trouble and call bad names, I ended up being my sheriffs and my buddies that I would step in front of a bullet for today. At any office or any law enforcement or military, I would do that for. They saved my life many times. So yeah, it's just, and there's more stories, but we'll just
That's
cut it.
That's fascinating. That's all in the book.
Oh, by the way, I do want to say that those 4 guys, that sex trafficking ring that were abducting girls, the Saudi Arabian government said, don't put them in jail. We were upset. They said, no, just fly them to Saudi Arabia, and you can stay on the plane and watch. And so that's what happened. As soon as they got off the plane on the tarmac, they were put on their knees and beheaded.
Wow.
So do you want to talk about
Judge,
yeah, that was wow.
Yeah. That's an efficient judicial system.
Yep.
Wow. So most of these stories are in your book.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That you'll find in USA Relentless, and it's in my book. And there's many more of working and jumping at the drop zone with our military and with other militaries because I'm a sport jumper. So I have more jumps than most military guys, and we're a lot freer to do what we need to do in the air with lighter parachutes and smaller gear. And being a stuntman, I would just go out of the plane doing a couple of flips. So when the guys, the Marines and the newer guys had big packs and had to do hop and pops at 5,000 feet, then they only had maybe 10 jumps and their eyes are wide open and they know they got to do a low altitude jump, which is really dangerous. I just kind of be on the plane, bump fists with them and just look at them and just tell them breathe, exhale, and I just go out the door calm as can be. And so I jump with Canadian Skyhawks and with SEAL teams and Marine Corps. So God used me again later, and at 2-9 Palms, doing aggressor role player, using my stuntman acting skills with live explosives to play terrorist roles, to shoot at our military who are on the other side of a wall with live fire and explosions going on, and that came from my stunt career in the past. Sure. It all comes in.
That's fascinating. So USA Relentless, folks. USA Relentless is the name of his book. It's out now?
Yes.
And ready to go? Okay.
If you go on www.usarelentless.com, it's 20% off for all Americans and patriots. You can get it on Amazon, but go on usarelentless.com and you get the full synopsis and the story and the pictures are all there. I'm one of these guys that is not offended, and I'm offended the people that are offended by the flag. How about that?
Yeah,
I want to house. I want to take some of this money, and I want to help wounded warriors. I want to help our veterans, and I want to do this by USA Relentless, and then filming a TV show called Adrenaline Man for God, Family, and Country. Good entertainment, over the top, live action stunts, no green screen or wire work, and that's for my old stuntmen friends that used to do the stunts for real back in the day, the real fall guys. So it's what I want to do. That's my dream, and that's my goal. That's my objective and my mission.
That's awesome. You're an inspiring man. I really appreciate your time with Heroic Investors here today.
Thank you, sir. May I mention one more thing?
Please do.
There's a place called EOPG, Emergency Operations Proving Grounds, and it's run by Officer Banning Sweatland of the United States Marine Corps and 16 years of law enforcement out of Dallas and Houston. And he created Emergency Operations Proving Grounds. So it'll be SEAL teams, Texas Rangers, SWAT, Border Patrol, EMTs, firemen, all training together for emergency situations, civil unrest. That way we can watch the firemen's back. We have burn buildings that SEAL teams will be doing room clearance, teaching law enforcement how to do that. And also burn buildings will be going in to protect our firemen and training, high-speed pursuit tracks and courses, sniper ranges. So we're all going to be on the same page out of Texas working together, hiring vets as well, and doing all of that for God, family, and country. And God's just putting this on my heart because I've had this. There's somebody out there, if not a couple or a few, who are contemplating suicide and what to do with their lives. And I just got to tell you to reach out to somebody and to share that, make that phone call, do that, and God will get you out of your PTSD, and he can help you. He's helped me, and I know it. So if you're sitting there alone and you think you're alone, I'm telling you, you're not alone. We're with you. We love all of you, and you're family to us, law enforcement and our military. You are our family, and God bless you all, and thank you.
That's tremendous. How can they find out more about EOPJ?
EOPG, you can actually Emergency Operations Proving Ground. And by the way, we're having a huge dedication to law enforcement and fallen military on October 5th at EOPG, Emergency Operations Proving Ground. And you can go and look it up, EOPG.org, and look up Banning Sweatland. But it's EOPG, and you'll be able to see the event coming up on October 5th, where we'll be awarding medals and having a big celebration and launching EOPG, and that will be on October 5th, 2019, coming up here now. And I can't say enough about what a big center this is going to be. And all law enforcement from different cities will be invited down here to train. We're also training teachers in NRA handguns to defend our kids in school and to conceal carry. And it's something that we have to do. I just came back from a country that lost all of their guns and all of their gun rights, and they lost all of their freedoms, and it's called New Zealand. And they just did the gun grab. So it's a lesson for America. First they took God out, then the police and their military were disrespected, and then they went in and put in a socialist government, then they went and got the gun grab. And they're in a world of hurt. But it's not too late for us. It's not too late for America. We've got another chance. We all have to unite. United we stand, and divided we fall. But we're going to stand united. And we have to stand behind our law enforcement and our military and all of our EMTs. It's urgent. It's important. It's primary. It's the number one thing to do, or we won't have a country.
Man, that was very well said. And thank you again. I forgot to say it about, or I didn't get to it yet, about PTSD and suicide. Certainly very, very important messages. Very heartwarming and inspiring. Thank you very much, Mr. Adrenaline Man. We look forward to reading that book.
Well, God bless you, sir. Thank you for your time. God bless you all out there in America. And stay safe, stay ready. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.